So good evening, everyone. This
Good
is your
evening, sir.
last session related to principle of construction management course. So today is the summary session wherein we will cover up all the weeks or all the modules which we have covered till today, and we will cover up the concepts, not any problems related to what we have covered in last 8 weeks. So this is just an overview session regarding your course, so that you should have a clear understanding about the various technicalities or the concepts that were involved in solving the concepts related to principle of construction management. So let me share my screen first. Yeah. So I think the screen is visible to everyone. So let's start this session. So this is your final summary session. My name is Pranam Mahajan. I am a PMRF scholar in Department of Civil Engineering from IIT Madras. So what you have covered till now, or what you have seen in the all the 8 week course regarding this principle of construction management, we will recap each of the concept, and you will have an overview about each and everything now in detail. So let's start this class. So in how we started that. So in we have said that the infrastructure creation is the integral part of development, because every structure which we are developing are nowadays becoming an integral part of the development, and these structure are becoming the foundation of or the development of our country. Like you can say that we have a Statue of Unity, we have Chinab Bridge. So these milestones that we have achieved, or these milestone structures that we have built, they are the foundation for the next coming generation, and that will tell you that how development is occurring in your country. Like metros, you are now seeing that metros are also increasing in an exponential rate. We have a lot many developments in the coming trains. We are making the good number of tracks so that bullet trains or the bullet trains will run in the coming years or in the nearby future. So all of these things require some special kind of a planning, which should be utilized in a construction project in a fully efficient manner, so that the process of construction of these structures should be in well haphazard manner. Okay, so these large scale construction projects that are involved includes roads, construction of roads, railways, power plants, industrial construction, and many more. So how we started that? So we started with that. How what are who are the stakeholders in any construction project? So in any construction project, first the who comes the most is the client. So then client make or offers position under him to designer, contractor, investor, then regulator, and finally, after the project is completed, it will be handed over to user to its proper use. So every construction project that we will develop is a very unique project. So depending upon the type of the local conditions, equipment available, these cost required to construct that project also changes. That means if you are making a project in hilly terrain, or if you are making a project in a plain terrain, there are costs involved in construction, carrying of equipment, reaching to that original site where the construction is to be done. So that varies depending upon the location where the construction should be done. So these should be considered during an preparation of the estimate by the client, and also when the contractor is quoting regarding the tender, he should also see that whether this price is considered or not, and if it is not considered, then he should quote it properly, so that he will not occur loss during its construction phase, and might not suffer losses, and finally he will not become bankrupt during the completion of the construction project. So in what we have told that, for a client, these can be different parties. If we have to give you example, this client could be Indian Railways, National Highway Authority of India, or if you sum up all of them, they are the government of India, who is the main client of all the projects or big entities that are required to be developed in across India. So then we will offer positions to different uh, persons who are experts in their fields. Like we offer designing of that project, then contractor, investor, and then investor here is government of India. Then regulator, who regulates this project. So we have a number of regulating agencies who will regulate the project. Then finally it will be transferred to the users. So contractor who are developing this project should offer positions to the construction manager, who is responsible for carrying out this project in most efficient way, so that the project will be completed within the estimated deadline given by the client to the contractor. So this construction project requires large amount of money to be invested. That could be in the form of your liquidated funds. It could be in the form of mobilization of your equipments. It could be in the form of mobilization of manpower and time, because time in long run becomes a most important part, because as the time of the project changes, the value of that project will also changes, and that will also cause an large amount of effect on the construction of the that particular project. Because suppose if any project is required to be completed in 10 years, and if it taking more than 10 years, like you can say 15 to 20 years, then by that time inflation prices are also increasing. So if inflation are increasing, then the commodity prices are also changing. So but you have not considered that commodity price, because you had considered the deadline to be of 10 years. But with the delay in the construction project, who will be responsible for the losses that occur due to the inflation of the change in the commodity prices? So that should also be considered, and it becomes the responsibility of the construction manager to look forward to all these things, so that the project should be completed within the provided deadline. So the important stakeholders comes into account. It could be safety auditors also, safety quality auditors also, and third party consultants. Then we have seen that what are the stages in the construction project. These are, first we will make a concept. Concept could be provided by the government of India, or you can say any interested party who wanted to construct that particular project. Then we will plan, and then planning becomes the most important steps, because if planning is done properly, all the processes which are to be followed will be done in the most efficient manner. Then we will start with designing, then execution, operation, and after operation, if the entity becomes not for good for use, then we will decommission that also. Because in large run, if these will cause to the loss of the mankind who is involved in usage of that project. Suppose if a bridge is there, and in after a amount of we can say 70 to 80 years, that bridge becomes not used for not fruitful for service of the passengers, then it is better to decommission it, because at a certain point of time it will fall or it may fall, and that cause the loss of the lives to the person who will be standing in an nearby areas. So concept, so smooth execution in any project requires proper time, quality of the work, unplanned field change, and disputes. So if you have the good amount of execution, then smoother will be your execution plan. Then we talked about what is tender, means various definitions which are related to the tender document. So what is tender? So tender is a written offer to execute the specified work within a certain time under certain conditions of contract between two parties, which are contractor and the client, for certain amount of money. So in the tender, certain value of terms are important. That is, it should be completed within a time, under certain condition and under certain amount of money. Okay. And when we add one another term, that is under a legal binding, then this tender will be converted into contract. Okay. Now, what is notice inviting tender? So, notice inviting tender is the publication of this tender in reputed newspapers, or you can say in reputed website, which will tell you that this tender is open for you to bid. So, what this notice inviting tender should contain? It should contain. It is a public document announcing a work and the inviting interested parties to bid. So, it should contain the details of the work to be carried out, and also the method of obtaining them is also sometimes it is also given. And depending upon the scale of the project, estimated cost is also provided to you, and the level of circulation, that what kind of site is available to you, that will also be defined in the notice inviting tender. So, a notice inviting tender should contain the name of the client, pre-qualifications, nature of the work, estimated cost, cost of time of completion. Then we have general conditions of contract and special condition of contract. We have discussed them in detail, that how the general condition of contract and differ from the special condition of contract. Then earnest money, details of security deposit and performance guarantee, and then finally the date of submission of the tender and the date of opening of the tender. So these are provided in you in sequence of what it is to be happened or what is to be happening. Okay, so these NIT details will provide you each and everything related to what a tender should contain. Then we will define what is earnest money deposit. So this is the amount which is to be provided by the contractor as a certain amount of money to the client, so that his willingness to bid for a particular project. Okay, so like we can say, it is the booking amount that you are providing to the contractor, sorry, to the client, so that you will bid for that project. Because if you hold back, or you will step back from the project during the bidding process, then this money will be taken by the client, because he has spent some time in evaluating your bid. So for that evaluation, this money will be taken over by the client. So how much money is to be considered? So it is to be 2% of the total estimated cost of the project. Then comes security deposit. So security deposit is the money which is deducted from the running account as the funds available from the client during the defect liability period. So this point should be remembered, that during the defect liability period, the amount which is deducted, which it is considered to be the security deposit. However, this money will be refunded to the contractor after the defect liability period is lapsed. Okay, so there is some difference between various. Yeah, someone raised the hand.
Yeah, actually, sir, I would like to know the difference between performance guarantee and the secure advance.
Yeah, performance guarantee is the form of submission of security deposit, because nowadays what happened that people are issuing performance guarantee also. So security deposit is the one which will be taken over till the defect liability period. Wherever performance guarantee is the one amount which will be taken up till the completion of the project. So suppose your project is you apply for the project and the project is awarded to you. So if the project is awarded to you, you will submit some amount of money to the company. That will become your performance guarantee. Okay. So, and simultaneously also, when you are submitting your RA bills, during that time, certain amount of money will be deducted from your account. That is your security deposit. But this security deposit will be uh, returned to you only after the defect liability period is completed. That means when the project is over, after that there is certain maintenance period that is provided to you. When that maintenance period is over, then after that only the security deposit is returned. Whereas in case of performance guarantee, it is returned to you just after the completion of the project, when the client issues you the certificate that you have completed this work under this amount of time. And if you submit the duplicate copy of that completion certificate to the client, then he will return to you this performance guarantee. But still certain amount of money is there with the with the client, that he will return after the completion of the defect liability period. So that amount you will consider as the security deposit. So am I clear?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So let's carry out forward. So we have now discussed for both a security deposit as well as the performance guarantee. So now how evaluation of bids happen. So evaluation of bids, now we have seen that the one who bid lowest for that particular project, to whom the contract is awarded, or you can say to whom the bid is awarded. But we have seen another thing also. Yeah, someone else has raised his hand again. Yeah, Mr. Chandrappa, you want to say something? Okay, let's continue further. So in the case of evaluation of bid, so the bids to be evaluated on the basis of the lowest cost. Okay. However,
Yes.
in some, yeah, who's this? Yeah, yeah. Anyone wants to ask something?
No, sir. That what I want to say is EMD can be adjusted towards performance security deposit also.
Sorry,
You got my
come
point.
again. Come again.
You got my point.
No,
Hello.
no, we
Is
won't
not
able to.
audible?
Yeah, yeah. Now you say.
Sir, whatever the EMD amount that can be adjusted towards performance security deposit
Yeah,
also.
correct, 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 correct. It is mentioned in the yeah. If whenever you are submitting their EMD, that will be adjusted, but it depends upon the contractor to contractor. If he wants, he can take after the work is awarded to him also.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So the bids may be evaluated on the basis of a lowest cost. But in some cases, technical competence, financial soundness, safety may also becomes the part of the evaluation process. And this is done by the impanelment, or you can say the technical committee, who will analyze all the documents submitted by the bidders. And this bidding could be done in two parts depending upon the amount. Sometimes it could be single package system, and sometimes it is the two package system. So when there is two package system, you have two kinds of two submission of bids. One is technical bid and another is financial bid. So mostly financial bids are open for only those who are qualified in the technical bids. And then we will see the financial bids based upon the total cost, or in some cases nowadays what we are what to achieve the quality, because every contractor nowadays putting low money so that he can gain the contract, but he will compromise with the quality of work that is required to be completed. So as to restrain that, nowadays we are making another form wherein composite score of the project or the company will be considered for the evaluation of the financial bid. So the construction project may go on for long periods of time. So therefore, the contractor will be need to be paid periodically for the work to be completed. So there is often a provision of escalation of rate, like we can say price escalation or price variation clause that is provided to you in the tender document. So these price variation depends upon nowadays it depends upon the RBI indices that is provided to you in the tender document, and there is some baseline. Based upon that baseline, the PVC is calculated, and then it is paid to the contractor depending upon the total rate that is occurred during that particular time in which the RA bill is submitted. So now how we'll estimate the quantities. So the estimation of quantities depends upon the different amount, or you can say different items that are involved for the work. It also takes into account the quantity of the different work to be done, and then finally the unit rate of that item that is to be carried out. So first of all, we have to determine what are the different items that are involved. Then in that different items, how much is the quantity of that item? Then for that quantity of item, what is the unit rate to define that particular word? Like we have seen in the class also, that if you have to consider create this retaining wall, so in that case, how much elements that are required to be constructed. So in that case, we have seen we require beams, we require columns, we require angle section, we require barbed wires, and then we have isolated footings also. So for each of these, you have the different drawings available with you, and for these, based upon the drawing available to you, you will calculate the quantities of the earthwork to be done. Then you will see how much PCC and RCC that is required to be provided. Then you will go in the top ground up, or you can say superstructure. You will see how much quantity of concreting you are required to be done. Then what is the total tonnage of the steel that is required to be erected for the angle section. Then finally comes about the erection of the barbed wires. Then only your construction of this wall is completed. So the calculation of the total quantity will decide, and the unit rate that is involved will decide the total estimate cost of the project. So using the appropriate drawings, it will help you to identify the items of the work and calculate the quantities. Okay, like I already discussed about this wall, and these are the drawings that we have seen in the class, that based upon the specifications provided in the drawings, we will calculate the different quantities that are involved to carry out this work. So how this work to be done, their occurrence of the schedule is provided to you in this way, and then you will calculate all the quantities and unit rate, and finally estimation and of the uh, project to be carried out is done. However, this estimation is done only for the detailed estimate, only when the tender is to be floated. Because sometimes what happens that you require two kinds of approval. One is administrative approval, another is technical sanction. So this detailed estimate is only to be done when administrative approval is done. So in administrative approval, what is to be written? You have to written an approximate cost based upon your previous same work, same kind of work if it is completed. So on the pro rata basis, you will calculate the estimated amount, and then you will tell to the client, or you can tell to the executing agency, or you can say government of India, that this much amount is approximately required. So whether this project is feasible for occurrence or not. So after getting that administrative approval, technique for the technical sanction, the detailed estimate is required. Then only the tender is floated. Okay, so the estimated of the project cost involves the quantity of the items as well as the rate of the items. And these rate of the items depends upon the specification of the work to be completed. So the specification to be provided in the BOQ should be crisp and clear for the contractor who is involved in the construction of work. Because sometimes what happens that if the description is not provided clearly, and that becomes a dispute during the working in the site, that whether this cost is included in the amount of the construction of that particular item or not. So the unit cost of the work largely depends upon the specification of the work. So these specifications describe the nature, scope, materials, execution details of the work to be done. So these descriptions should be as clear as possible so that to avoid the interest between the two parties. So generally, these clauses of description of the work in the BOQ sheet are written in the same order in which the work is required to be carried out. Then this is one of the example of the earthwork and the brickwork, and how it is to be provided in BOQ. Like you can say earthwork in excavation, including dressing of sides, ramming of bottom, dewatering, providing timber shoring with lift up to 2 meter, including getting out of the excavated soil and disposable of surplus excavated soil with a lead of 2 kilometers. So this thing will provide you an overview of how the work is to be done, and what things are already including in the excavation of a particular item that is involved to be completed. So likewise for brickwork, it is also provided. So the rates of the items that are required to be completed depends upon the specifications, properties, what kind of labor requirement is there, what kind of equipments you require for mixing, placing, and bending, and also small amount of profit is also adjusted by the client. But if the contractor thinks that this profit is not feasible for him to do that particular work, then he may add more amount during the quoting for the particular tender. So the rate is usually worked out under the following heads: materials, labors, tools and equipments, water charges, overhead expenses. So the rates of the items for other for the rate of items for other items involved in the work is also calculated based upon the specification. So specification becomes the most useful tools in determining the estimation of the total quantities of the different work that is required to be completed. Then afterwards we went for the calculation of the time value of the money. As we already told you that why we do the price variation, because value of the money changes with the time. So the interest represents the earning power of the money. Like you deposit some money in your bank and you get regular interest from the bank at regular intervals. But if you do the FD, you will get more interest. And if you want to take more risk, you spend your investment in mutual fund and stock market, and then you will get more amount of interest, and the risk will also get increases. So value of money changes with time. It can be increasing and it can be decreasing depending upon the inflation that is there in the country. So whether it is inflation or whether it is recession, your money will change accordingly. So there exists a present value of the money and the future value of the money. So these are the two technical terms we should consider during the bidding for a particular project, which is for a long duration. Because for 1 or 2 years, you don't need to consider the time value of money. But when the project requires 10 years to be completed or 5 years to be completed, then you should consider your money to be invested for that particular project during the construction phase. Okay, so we have seen for a certain technical yeah. Someone want to ask something? Okay, let's continue. So cash flow diagrams. So cash flow diagram is a visual representation of inflow and the outflow of the funds. Those that are either received or spent during the project lifetime. So we can see from the diagram, there is one diagram that is provided to you like this, wherein first outflow is provided to you in the downward direction and the inflow is provided to you in the upward direction. So based upon that, you can see how much outflow is occurring and how much inflow is occurring. So you can add up them, and then different technical definitions will come into picture now, and we will see each of them accordingly. So these definitions depend upon how much amount is spending. Either it is single payment or it is equal payment. Equal payment you can say in the form of EMIs. Like you purchase a product and you pay EMI. So it's not like that you pay EMI. If you accumulate all the EMIs you have paid, it sums up to a total amount of original product value. It is always more than the original product value. Okay, so that's why equal payment method takes into account the compound amount factor, present worth factor, sinking fund deposit, and the capital recovery factor. So these are the different types of equal payments that are to be carried out, and we will see the definition of each of them in detail. So in the single payment compound amount factor, what happens that a certain amount of money is you can say in you can say in it is invested. Now you want to say how much amount it will become in nearby future. So that is uh, so that will become compounding of that amount. So like you compound a amount P into 1 plus R to the power of N. And if you divide it by the original amount, that will give you the factor. That is 1 plus I to the power of N. However, when you reverse it, that is when you want to calculate your future value and you don't know the present value, then you reverse the previous thing. Okay. Same becomes with equal payment present worth factor. Now this is the annuity kind of a thing. In this case, when you want to calculate the present worth and you know the amount of annuity you are providing in the regular intervals, so how you will calculate, then formula is given to you. However, when you know the original amount and you know how much EMI, like you want to purchase an iPhone, and you know that iPhone, suppose it cost around 50,000, and then you want to know that how much EMI I needed to be paid, that will be calculated to you based upon the total number of years you will select in any e-commerce website. Okay. So that will give you the equal payment capital recovery factor. Okay. Then what is payback period? So payback period is a period at which the investor gets the investment back. It does not consider the total time, it does not consider the time value of money. So out of various alternatives, project with shorter payback is generally preferable. Now what is discounted payback? It is similar to original payback, but now it considers time value of money. What is net present value? It is a sum of all the cash flow and the cash flow discounted to the present value, to the present using the time value of money. Okay, so these all definitions we already looked, and also we have solved some problems related to that. Now, what is internal rate of return? So, internal rate of return is the discounted rate at which your NPV of the cash flow becomes zero. Okay, so in most of the situation, alternates do not have equal life period. Like we are saying that uh, each of the items will be equal, should have equal life. Like if you purchase a equipment, so currently you have purchased and that equipment worked for 10 years. Like you can say in the smartphones, you purchase a smartphone and that smartphone already worked for the new for 5 years. Now, if you purchase a new smartphone, that may not work for 5 years, that may work for 3 years, that may work for 2 years, and sometimes it may work for 8 years, depending upon how much is the quality of the product and how much is the usage, how much you are using that product. That also differs. Then your calculation of this annuity as well as present worth as well as the future worth will also changes. So to be fair with the ranking process of the alternatives, lives should be modified such that they are equivalent. So how you will do that? Using common multiple method and study period method. Now what is common multiple method? In which the least common multiple of the life period of the alternative is chosen as the coterminous life period. Whereas,
Excuse me, sir.
yeah,
I have a doubt about internal rate of return. Can you go back to that slide?
yes,
Sir, there is a question, numerical. It has asked internal rate of return, how to find that in
hmm,
this assignment.
okay,
But when I started to solve that, 1 plus r raised to 1 to 1 plus r raised to 2, 3 till 5, then
hmm.
how to solve that? I didn't get how to solve that. And even in a solution also, it has directly written r is equal to 24.03, but that solving is not shown how to solve this.
Okay. Actually, if you have seen my problem solving session, in which what I have done, I have considered, suppose these so these are the figures on for that only that day for the problem solving session, in which suppose you have calculated for 1%, then you will plot. Then if
Hmm.
you do for 2%, 3%, 5%, you will plot. You have a Excel. Uh, so in that Excel, you will plot, and then you will see that at what point it is touching the discounted rate at the x-axis. Or you can, if you want, you can what you can do. You can make suppose this is the formula given to you. You have to iterate.
Hmm.
If you I
Correct.
yeah, if you iterate for the percentage of the internal rate of return, first you will have a decrease in the value. Okay. If you have,
Uh,
yeah, tell me.
Still, I didn't get how we in Excel. How can we? Okay, Excel we can solve, but in exam there won't be any Excel.
Yeah, then you have to take the percentage. You have to take one percentage rate of return. Suppose IRR you have taken 5%. Okay,
Huh,
then you will get some value.
correct.
Okay, then if you take 10%, then you will get
Hmm,
another value. So
correct.
suppose in 5% you get the value of around 20. In ten
Hmm,
percent you get the value of around 10. Then
hmm.
if you calculate for 15, you get minus 5. Okay.
Okay,
Then you know na in between 10 and 15, you will be having the value of this internal rate of return. Then you will
okay,
calculate
okay.
for
So that
12.5.
we have to calculate by trial and error.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Hmm.
we don't have to actually find R with calculation. We just need to make some assumption and do that.
Correct.
Okay.
Ano- Another way is only the graphical method that you can use in the exam.
Okay, that won't be possible for exam. So in
Yeah.
exam, whatever options are given, we can just make trial and error
Hmm.
with that option only.
Yeah, the MCQ values that are given to you, you write each and every value and then solve that. So
Huh.
wherever you will get the zero, and that will be your rate of return, internal rate of
Okay.
return.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
So we have completed this study period method. Now we will do about the repayment. So repayment is the paying back of the money which is previously borrowed from the lender. So it usually takes the form of periodic payments and can be reviewed, or you can say such as we have different methods for that. Repayment is used against the principal or against the interest or against the both of them, against the principal as well as the interest. So for that, we have seen one example also. So what are the different cases that arises for the repayment? One is the repayment that is used to pay the interest first. Then it becomes another case that when you are paying you when the interest is to be paid, and the total amount of repayment will change from 90K to 110K. So that we also have seen. Then we have seen that repayment used to pay the interest first. Based upon that, we have increased the repayment amount to 120K. So these are the first three cases we have seen when wherein interest is paid first, but yearly repayment we have increased from 90K to 100K to 120K. Now, another case is when you pay the principal first. In that case, same things, three cases will come into picture when you are paying 90K, 110K, and 120K. So, for that, we have done the calculation in the class and we have came out about the different vulnerabilities that which should be preferred more during the repayment of that particular project. Then comes about the planning. So planning is the process of drawing up of a scheme of action or execution in advance for seeing the likely future developments. I have to see where we have reached. We are very far. Yeah. So construction planning involves the choice of the technology. Okay, it depends upon the different works to be carried out, estimations of the required resources, what kinds of the duration that is required, what estimation of the duration of the particular task that is required to be completed, and the identification of the interaction between different tasks. Like you can say, if you are doing an electrical equipment, electrical work, so whether parallelly to that, any plumbing work or any other you can say architecture work can be done in simultaneously, so that your total work should not affect you, and your total work will be completed within the scheduled timeline. Because if you don't interrelate each and other activity to each other, then what happens that your total project will get extended to far more days that is required, and your total incur of the cost of the project will also be very high. So there should be proper timeline of the uh, uh, time plan. We have a cost plan, quality plan, safety plan, manpower plan, materials plan, equipment plan, and financial plan. So these all the planning manager should make before a project is to be started. that how different activities should be interrelated to each other so that the work should be carried out in such a way that your work will be completed within the scheduled timeline that is provided to you. So for this, construction planning should be done in the schedule oriented as well as in the cost oriented manner. So if it is schedule oriented, we have a two kinds of a schedule. One is time oriented, another is resource oriented. And for that, different cost comes into picture. One is direct cost and another is indirect cost. So we have so construction manager or the planning manager have to make a word breakdown structure. So this word breakdown structure is what? It is the hierarchical tree structure obtained through decomposition of the project into phases and tasks. So more thorough or the more detailed is your work breakdown structure. So better will be the planning and the smoother will be the project execution. So how we will do that word breakdown structure? We will make a network diagram, and how we can make the network diagram? We have two methods. One is activity on node, and another is activity on arrow. So nowadays, generally activity on arrow is considered, and you also, if you have done some examples, you have also seen that generally we will write the activities on nodes, not and on activities on arrows, not on nodes, because that becomes difficult in analyzing that what how this activity is carrying out, and how what are the means how these activities are interrelated to each other. So for that, we have different time schedules available with us, or for we have to calculate the total critical path, because the largest path in the any network diagram defines your critical path. However, this critical path is the lowest time to complete any project. So under that, different technical terms come into picture. One is the earliest start times, earliest finish time, latest start time, and latest finish time. So what is earliest start time? So earliest start time at which the activity can start, given that all the proceeding activity or all the preceding activities are already completed. What is the earliest finish time? It is the time at which activity can be completed. So it is so generally what we will do, if you add the duration of an activity with the early start time, that will give you the early finish time. Whereas, so generally, I think we will use this in forward pass, and other two we will use in backward pass. So we'll see the examples of the we will see the definition of the forward pass as well as the backward pass in the coming slides. So what is the latest finish time? So latest finish time is of an activity, is the time at which an activity must be completed to avoid the delay in the total completion cost of the total completion time of the project. And how you will calculate the latest start time? It is the latest start time is the one when an activity must be started in order to avoid any delay. That is when you subtract the duration of the activity from the latest finish time, that will give you latest start time. Okay, so what is forward and backward pass? So the forward pass moves from the start node towards the finish node. Basically, in this, earliest authoring times of all the events are calculated. Like I already told you that earliest start time and earliest finish time are calculated by forward pass, and the backward pass is used to calculate the latest start time and the latest finish time of the activities. Now, another terms comes into picture, that is the total float. So total float any of an activity is the amount of the time by which the start of an activity may be delayed without causing the total delay in the completion of the project. That means how much you can delay an activity so that your total project duration will not get affected. So now we have defined critical path method also. So it is the most widely used scheduling technique. Critical path represents a series of activities which should not be delayed for the timely completion of the project. As I already told you, it is the longest path in the network, representing the minimum time that is required to complete a project. So the duration of the activities here, it is considered to be deterministic, not probabilistic. So all the activities which are there in the critical path have the total float equal to zero. Now comes your construction schedule, or you can say your resource labeling as well as resource scheduling. So construction schedule should be either time oriented or resource oriented. So what is resource scheduling? So when the estimation of the activities and the project duration using network diagram is carried out such that there is an unlimited availability of resources, that means you have unlimited resources available, then you are saying that, you can say that you are doing the resource scheduling, you are using the resource scheduling technique. Whereas so where we will use this resource scheduling technique, when so so real life projects faces the resource constraints like shortage of resources, delayed delivery, competence demands. So resource planning and the resource allocations plays an important role in managing the construction project. That means you can't have the unlimited resource available with you. You always have certain limited resources that should be considered during a calculation of the total amount of the time as well as the optimum cost required to complete any construction project. So what is mentioned here that however in actual situation uniform availability of resource is perhaps neither possible nor desirable. So what you will do, you will do why it is not possible, because there is mobilizing of sufficient funds during the initial stages of the construction, that will not be possible in most of the project. Then the construction, most of the construction activities that is happening during the middle stages of the project, and hence it is recommended to have a gradual increase in the deployment of the resources in the initial stages, and then finally the decrease in the meeting of the total project demand. That is, you should make an S curve for the project completion. Neither you start with too many resources, neither you end with too many resources. You start a project with having your limited resources available with you, then you increase the rate of the project in exponential manner, and finally you will start deploying, or you can say start removing the resources from the project at the end of the completion of the project. So there is another term come into picture, that is resource leveling. So resource leveling is the process of allocating of resources among various activities such that peak requirement of resources is reduced with constraint of time. What we saw in the resource allocation, that there is uh, resource scheduling, that there is uh, unlimited resources available to you, whereas in resource leveling we are saying that there is constraint in the total time that is required to be completed. So both of them should be optimized so that your total time of the project as well as the total optimum cost required to be completed for a project should be estimated. So in this, the underlying assumption is that only one type of resource is considered throughout the project, and the activities that are already underway should be completed first. Okay, so this diagram shows you about the resource planning. So resource planning involves resource labeling as well as the resource allocation. In resource allocation, you have a availability of resources is a constraint, whereas in case of resource labeling, distributing resources within the fixed duration is a constraint. So how you will do the resource labeling? We already seen that first you will calculate the critical activities, then arrange all these activities in the time axis based upon their early start times. Then the total number of resources that are required for each activities are obtained by adding up the resources for the individual activities on that particular day. Then what we will do, we will do the resource profile, and then we will do the resource aggregation, and same steps we will repeat, and then we will see that how much change will happen after doing that step 3 and step 4, and whether this project is able to be utilized in the construction project or not. That depends upon the how you have leveled the resources. So what is a resource allocation, that we already know, and how it is to be done. So these steps are already provided to you. in these, and we have seen also. So let's move a little bit fast because we are running short of time. So how you will determine total components of the project? So we have two kinds of components of the total cost. That is direct cost, which is the expenditure that is specific to a project. Whereas what is indirect cost? That includes various tariff for infrastructure facilities like rent you have to pay. That includes an indirect cost. So now what is cost time trade-off? So it is the analysis of the interrelationship between time and cost, so that your total time and the optimum cost of the project should be calculated. This is called as cost time trade-off. That means what you will do, you will decrease the total amount that is required to complete an activity, and you will see that whether the amount to complete that particular activity decreases or increases. So up to a certain point of time, this amount will decrease, but after a certain amount of time, this amount will start to increase, so that the point at which your total, after crashing a particular activity, the total amount which is minimum, that will gives you the optimum cost. So how you will do the crashing of an activity? So what is crashing of an activity? It is the expediting an activity to an earlier time by mobilizing more resources. And how you will do that, it depends upon the cost slope of an activity. So how you determine the cost slope? It is the crash cost minus the normal cost divided by the normal time minus the crash time. So for crashing a particular network, you will first determine the critical path of the network. Then you find the cost slope. Then you will rank the critical activities in ascending manner based upon the cost slope, and then crash the activity in the critical path based upon their rankings. And then you will calculate the total revised cost of the project, and you will repeat these steps till you obtain the optimum cost required for the completion of the project. Okay. So for this, we have done numerical also for the crashing of the activity, and you have seen that you how the total optimum cost of a project can be calculated. Then we went to estimation of the how the safety on the project is necessary. So we have seen that how the safety has evolved. So in 1966, the National Safety Council was set up, and March 4th of every year is celebrated as the National Safety Day. Then in 1996, Lok Sabha passed National Workers Bill to regulate the work conditions for all the construction sites. In 1998, the central rules for the building and other construction works also comes into existence, and every state governments are in advanced stages nowadays for framing the various rules regarding the safety of the personnel that are involved in carrying out any particular construction project. So you have seen that in 1970s, the amount of accidents that are happening in the particular construction industry are very high. And then with the implementation of various laws, these accidents rate is and are nowadays decreasing, because if you follow the proper protocols that is required in the site, then you can minimize the total accidents that will occur. However, these accidents you can describe in various categories. It could be due to from fall from elevation, electric shocks, due to due to struck by an incident, then caught between two incidents, then fall from height. If you fall, like slips happen to you, you will slip from certain roof, then due to falling objects and you injured while lifting or carrying something to another place. However, if you see the data, we came to know that around 80 to around 85% of the total uh, accidents that are involved, that are due to either electric shocks, or due to fall from incident, or it due to when the person got stuck between any incident. So if you try to minimize even these three categories, then you can also minimize the total construction accidents that are occurring at various sites. So, as per the survey conducted by the National Sample Survey Organization in 1999 and 2000, about 17.62 million building and other construction workers are there in India. So besides large company involving millions of workers, there are large number of self-employed individuals also that are engaged in the actual construction works or the allied activities like whitewashing, painting, plumbing, or the mechanical fixing or the electrical fixation. Then how the accidents will be caused. So accidents are caused due to unsafe act by a victim, unsafe act by the co-worker who is involved, then unsafe work condition created by the worker itself, or the unsafe condition created by the use of that particular project or particular activity, or the combination of all the above four that are mentioned above. So, how you will dimensify this construction safety? It depends upon the cost, productivity, human suffering, statutory problems, quality, and reputation of the company who are involved in carrying out that particular work. So, unsafe act by a person involves 88% of the accident at the site. Mechanical equipment or the physical condition contributes to the 10%. So if you add both of them, it contributes to the 90%. So that means unsafe act by the persons and the equipments that are involved in the sites contributes to the 98% of the accidents that are occurring on the site. So if we try to prevent even those, so that means 98% of the accidents can be prevented. Then we have a different definitions regarding to accidents. Now, what is near miss? A dangerous or the unpleasant situation from which someone just manages to escape. So this includes a potentially hazardous condition and also known as near hit or near loss. You can also relate to when you are driving a motor vehicle and you just passes by a certain nearby vehicle and you feel like you was about to collide to that vehicle and you just escaped in seconds to having an accident. Okay, so that is a near miss. Now, what is an incident? So, any disruption in the normal or the smooth flow of work that involves an injury, property loss, damage equipment, work stoppage, or the near miss. Okay, then what is accident? An unplanned, unforeseen event that causes or have the potential to cause the damage, injury, or loss of life and property. And this accident, an incident will become an hazard in case of an unsafe physical condition. So, what is hazard? Hazard is the unsafe physical condition that could lead to an injury, accident, or loss. So, it may exist in dormant, armed, or active stage. Then we talked about risk. So, the potential of loss resulting from an activity or action of an individual that contributes the risk. So, what are recordable injuries? So, injuries are recorded for insurance, analysis, documentation purpose, depending upon the severity of the injury. It could be either the medical case injury or DART. What is DART? DART is days away, restricted, and transferred injury. Then, due to that injury, reportable accidents will also come into picture. So any injury which is causing the disablement exceeding 48 hours beyond the day or the shift in which the accident has occurred is considered to be the reportable accident. So when it says to be minor and when it is major, when the absentees is up to 20 days, it is considered to be the minor. However, when the absentees happen to be more than 20 days, it is considered to be major. Now, what is unsafe act? So, any act is an unsafe act of doing something that has the potential to cause injury, loss, or a serious accident. Now, what is frequency rate? So, it is the number of lost time injury depending upon the ratio or divided by man hours worked multiplied by 1 million. Whereas what number of ratio of the number of reportable lost time injuries to the man hour worked multiplied by 1 million will also give you the frequency rate. So how you will calculate lost time injury? So lost time injury is the one in which the injury requires little medication attention and the worker returns to its work quickly. So a reportable lost time injury is the one that may result in the worker absenteeism for more than 48 hours and is supposed to be reported to the appropriate authority. Okay, so that means whenever you report an accident, that will become your reportable lost time injury, and when you are not reporting a lost time, that will becomes the lost time injury. Okay. Now, what is fatality rate? So that it is the number ratio of the number of fatal injuries divided by the man-hour work multiplied by 1 million. Now, what is severity rate? It is the man days lost due to lost time injury divided by the man-hour work multiplied by 1 million. And in case of reportable lost time injury, it is the man hours lost divided by divided by total man hour worked multiplied by 1 million. That will also give you the severity rate. Now, what is incidence rate? It is the ratio of the number of injuries to the number of persons during the period under review, and it is expressed per 1000. Okay, so lost time injury incident rate is the number of lost time injuries divided by the average number of persons that are employed multiplied by 1000. Okay, then comes workman compensation claim frequency index. It is the ratio of number of workman compensation claims divided by total man hours multiplied by 200,000. Now, various accidents also occur in the construction industry. So how it can be prevented? By proper good housekeeping, by excavation. How it happens? It is due to the provide doing the excavation at wrong places, then working at sites, electrical safety, lifting and rigging. Due to that, also accident will happen. And what is you can see in the figure also that different ways in which the equipments are organized at a particular site. So the red one is showing you the wrong way and a blue one is showing you the right way. So if you keep the all the materials in the proper arrangement manner, then if the person who is moving nearby to that area, he can prevent that accident by maneuvering during the that particular site. So now, what is good housekeeping? So poor housekeeping is the major cause of falls or slips on a construction sites. So we should have the work area always to be tidy. So good housekeeping results in prevention of accidents. A good work site is the safe work site. So ensuring proper practices in disposal of the construction waste, keeping the tools in the proper arranged locations, and having the proper supervision at a particular site results in the reduction in accidents due to housekeeping. Then excavation comes into picture that due to the collapse of the sides of the excavated areas, like you can see that you have to dig a pit, and as you dig further, the shoring of the particular pit may get lost, and the mud from that particular site starts falling. That will also cause the accident due to excavation. So ladder should be used. So ladder should be used for the access for a limited period of work. So ladder can cause accident if they are improperly fitted, not properly secured, or when stepped upon a greasy substance. Like you can see in the figure, the direction in which you are working, in that direction only the ladder should be provided, and you should have a firm base at the bottom, and there should not be certain liquid substance or slippery substance available at the site that will result in the slip of the ladder and result in falling of the person involved in carrying out any particular work up to a large height. So another case of accident that could be due to scaffolding. So here the accident causes due to the collapse of scaffold from fall of a person from the scaffold, or the fall of materials. Then what preventive measures need to be taken? So for this, scaffold should be erected, modified, and dismantled by the competent persons only. It should be erected on the firm ground with sole plate and the base plate with safe means of access as well as the egress. It should be fully planned a platform with minimum width of 600 mm and should be tied to the structure. All these platforms should have the guide rails, toe board, bracing on all the four sides. So this is also another way how the ladders are used in the sides. You can say, see that the person who is involved in the painting work, the one who is directly using or not making him exposed to that particular work, that is a good way for doing the painting work. Whereas the other one who is leaning from the ladder, he is posing the risk to his life. So that negligence by the worker during in the construction sites would lead in the accidents. Okay, another thing is the provision of the safety nets and you can say the bungee cable that is provided to the labor that is involved in carrying out particular site. How it will be provided, that can also seen in the figure. Now, in a construction site is inherently dangerous place with high degree of risks and hazards involved. So, accidents at construction sites are the unforeseen events that have several implications, and the expenditure of resources on that accidents is completely unavoidable. So, implications results in the loss of the life, property that would obviously cause the delay in the total completion of the project. However, financial losses will also occur, but that will also only contribute to the minor part, and that will be only for the compensation of the worker who gets involved in that particular accidents. So there are two sides of a coin when the cost of accidents is discussed. First is the cost incurred when the accident occurs. Another is the cost incurred in preventing the accidents. However, big companies used to used to take into account the second part, that is cost incurred in preventing the accidents. So what are accident costs? So accident costs would be the indirect cost as well as the direct cost. So costs that are that occur directly as a result of the accident and include medical as well as the compensation costs will contribute to the direct cost, whereas the costs that are less obvious but are the direct consequence of an accident that will contribute to the indirect cost. So the direct costs that are to be provided for an accident could be the loss of property, hospitalization or the medication charges, compensation to the worker involved, salary payment for the unpayment worked by that laborer, replacement of machinery, cost of investigation for why that accident happens should also be done by the employer. Now, what are the indirect costs involved? They are the pain and the sufferings by that individual. Another is the time lost from the work by the injured worker. Third is the lost time by the fellow workers, loss in the earning power of the injured worker, cost of new or the replaced employee, failure to meet the contract demands, cost of delays, cost to train the new worker, and the loss of the reputation of the company involved. So, how these can be how our prevention, accident cost, and the safety benefits can be related. So you can see from the figure that as the prevention cost increases, your accident cost decreases. However, as your prevention cost increases, your benefits from that should all would also increases. Okay, so there is direct relationship between benefits as well as the prevention cost, but there is inverse relationship between accident cost and the prevention cost. Now, another thing comes into picture is the quality control. So quality control is also one of the important factor that should be considered in the site by the site supervisors, planning engineers, site engineers, so that the work that is going to be happen in the site should not compensate with the quality of the work that to be done. That means whatever specifications that is provided to you should be followed to carry out that particular work or that particular description of the work that is to be done. So quality can be related to the fitness for the purpose, conformance to the specification, meeting or exceeding customer needs, value of money, consistency, or you can say the lack of variability. So for this, we define total quality management. So total quality management is a way to define the quality work. So it is a way of planning, organizing, understanding each activity that depends on each individual at each levels. So ideas of continuous learning allied to concepts such as empowerment and partnership, which are the faces of the total quality management, also imply that a change in the behavior and the culture is required if construction firms are to become the learning organizations. So for this, we have one construction quality assessment system or CONTWAS. It is a standard quality assessment system introduced by the BC of the Singapore. This system measures constructed work against workmanship standards and the specification. So what it specifies is that in this system, that doing it right the first time is the basic theme that is involved. So once a project has been evaluated and the score is assigned, there is no restoring for that particular project. That is rectification correction to be made after the assessment is not taken into after the assessment is not taken into consideration. So over the years, this system has gained its acceptability as a benchmarking tool across various countries, including India. Then another term comes into picture is audit. So audit is the systematic and the independent examination to determine the quality of the activity that is to be performed and the related results that comply with the planned arrangements. So whether these arrangements are implemented effectively to achieve the particular objective or not, and whether the quality policy is understood and implemented properly, that all contribute in the audit. So this is the mandatory requirement laid down in ISO 9000, and it helps in determining the conformity against a quality system or standard, and helps you to determine the system effectiveness to meet the objectives as well as provide the auditee with the information to use in the improving of the system. So it should be done in as first party audit, second party audit, third party audit. So when the audit is done for the internal purpose, it is said to be the first party audit. When it is done on behalf of the customer, it is told to be the second party audit. And when it is done by the external independent organization, then it becomes the third party audit. So the cost of the quality depends upon the quality control cost as well as the failure cost. So quality control cost takes into account the prevention cost as well as the appraisal cost, whereas failure cost would be the internal failure or the external failure cost. So mathematically, how it is defined, that is given to you in the picture below. So for any construction project, quality of the materials and the systems that are involved should also be considered, whereas the quality of the product versus the quality of the process should also be taken into consideration. So the thought process for the quality control is closely related to the test standards that is to be required to be followed. So anyone having any question?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, in the previous slide, like, can you please go back to the previous slide?
Yes.
Sir, in addition to it, there was a question in the assessment of non-conformance cost.
Okay.
Sir, what does it mean, non-conformance cost?
Non-conformance of is the like non adherence to the what you are requiring, or you can say the failure cost that is to be done for the particular cost, because when activity is to be carried out regarding to the particular specification, suppose a specification is given to you So if that specification is not followed in the carrying out that particular work, so the amount that is to be compensated for not following the proper specification that is provided to you, that becomes the non-conformance cost. So that includes your failure cost that happens to be in the completion of the project. So many means for that non-conformation cost also something is given to you to calculate also.
Um, Actually, sir, there was a question like the data was given, and in one question they have asked about quality control cost, and
Mhm.
in the other two questions they have asked the questions related to non-conformance cost. But we haven't studied that in any of the sessions, so that's why my two of the answers were wrong.
Okay, okay. Might be that would be related to the failure cost that is involved to carry out that particular work, because I have not seen that questions yet. So, if possible, you could also see look about that. I will also try to look upon that particular question, and then we can discuss. I think now we can't discuss because this is the last session. If you have any query, you can write in discussion forum wherein we will reply to you accordingly. Okay,
Okay, thank you, sir.
fine. So the test methods laid down a detailed procedure for almost all the steps involved in the test, especially for the steps that are considered important from the point of view of the results. So the quality control methods involve the standardization process, inspecting the work that is required to be done, how sampling of the work is done, then testing, then taking into account its acceptance, and then providing the remedial measures to be done at the site. So we have seen various examples. So if we see the compressive test of the concrete, so in this you can see that compressive test strength of the concrete depends upon the specification of the parameters that are involved, then the strength of the various components and the loading parameters should also comes into picture. If we talk about the specimen parameters, it takes into account the dimensions, geometry, and the moisture state that is provided to you. Whereas in case of the strength, it takes into account aggregate porosity, matrix porosity, or all the technical terms that are involved, like water cement ratio, hydration, air content, water cement mineral mixtures, degree of consolidation, degree of hydration. That all contributes to the strength of the that particular component. Whereas for the loading parameters, it takes into account stress, strain, and its corresponding application. So we also seen some one example related to the calculation of the lap length. So how the lap length should be provided? It depends upon or the cost of the lap length. How we have done that? We have first calculated the cost of the lap length, and we have them compared with the cost of the mechanical couplers. So we can see that which is most feasible for us, whether the lap length is most feasible or the mechanical couplers are most feasible. So based upon that, you can provide any of them if the specification is not provided to you in the contract document. So then joining of the bars could be done by the gas pressure welding. So in gas pressure welding involves the butting of the two ends against each other, then heating the joint by oxyacetylene flame, and then stopping the heat and applying appropriate pressure at the appropriate time. So in this, you should have an upper bound for the quality control. In this, the upper bound that is provided to you is that your maximum bulge should have a diameter equal to 1.2 to 1.5 D, and there is smoothness in the weld zone, and the length of the rebar that is affected should be L minus 2 to 3 D. Okay. So then we have seen about welding. So welding is the fabrication process in which the it involves the joining of the new materials together by heating them to a suitable temperature, and then by applying heat with or without the use of the pressure, and then providing the additional filler material. So Some common methods of providing welding involves stick shielded metal arc welding, gas tungsten arc welding, gas metal arc welding, flux core arc welding, electro slat welding. So in that you have seen that electrode, how electrode composition is done. It is having a one core and sheet around it. So core includes the flux that is providing the bonding between the material. Then we have alloy material as well as the formers that will contribute in the creation of the weld along the two joint surfaces. So these weld joints could be butt joint, lap joint, T joint, head joint, and the corner joint. So all the different joints have different purpose. You must have studied them in the, or you will study them in the steel structures course. So multiple pass weld is also there, and this is one of the kind of weld. So that is used in the cases where the thickness of the plate is very deep. When the thickness of the plate is very large and you want to weld the two plates in large depth. So this so issue could be the thickness of the pass that is required to be provided and how much voltage is required to be done. So the wire should not be positioned closer to one diameter from the wall of the joint. So that is one specification to be followed. Then comes non-destructive welding. So non-destructive welding could be how can faulty welds could lead to the destructive problems depending upon the items to be welded. So then NDT is essential to ensure that the defects are detected prior to use. So these defects, how it could be done by visual testing, then by radiography testing, magnetic particle testing, liquid penetrant testing, ultrasonic testing. So depending upon or how much quality of work is required to be done at that particular work, so different kinds of testing you could involve in determining the cracks in the weld. So what are the advantages and disadvantages in the weld? So as no hole is required, no reduction of the area will occur in case of the welding. Filler plates, justed plates, connecting angles are not used, which will lead to the reduction in the overall weight of the structure, like you do in the lap joints. So it will have a speeder and the more silent fabrication. It requires less space in comparative to what you require in riveting. Then it have a alternation and addition to existing structure in easy manner, whereas we have many disadvantages also. So the disadvantages includes that due to uneven heating and cooling of the members during the welding, the members may distort, resulting in the creation of the additional stresses. So there is no provision of for expansion and the contraction that is kept in the welded work. So inspection is more difficult and costlier than the rivet. Here, it is more costlier than the riveting work. Then we have seen how the thickness of epoxy coated bar is to be provided. So the coating should be uniform in thickness and should conform to requirements. The thickness of the coating needs to be measured approximately as a part of the quality control exercise by the manufacturer. So unless this coating is too thick, the effect on the bond with the surrounding concrete is nominal, especially in case of deformed bars where the bond is provisionally provided by the mechanical action of the ribs. So for this, what you will do? You will do the bending test. Okay. Then we have also seen that how you will check the durability of coating. So you will test the chemical resistance of the epoxy coating reinforcing bars by immersing them in a appropriate chemicals for suitable time, and then determining the change in the thickness of the coating and the formation of the holidays. Then comes quality control. So quality control takes into for the test of the quality control, you have to evaluate the property of the material, and you have to evaluate the process of construction of that material. So the construction as a whole can be broken down into set of activities that are involved in the in carrying out. So you can see in this figure that multi-story collapse happen. So whenever one story collapse occurs, it may lead as a consequence to the collapse of the other stories because of the impact of the falling of one slab over one another. So, so in a particular case, the slabs collapsed, and the accident was attributed to the fact that the previously cast did not have sufficient strength and to carry the load of the construction slab as above. So, possible causes of failure to takes into account the use of the cement that had a slower initial strength, a faster cycle time. Then we have the importance of the construction load, which are ignored in the design process. Then the workmanship issues. So there could be many issues that would lead to the accident. So that should be considered so that the quality control of the work could be analyzed. Then you have the sampling frequency and the methods, how you will sample them. You have the testing methods and the acceptance criteria for them. Then after that, we went to the, or you can say in the week 8, we have seen that how the building bylaws should be followed. So building, what are building bylaws? So building bylaws are the legal tools to regulate the coverage, height, building build, architectural design, and the construction aspects of the building, so as to achieve orderly development of an area. So why it is required? So it is required to promote planned urban development, ensure healthy and safety of the public that is require that particular area, to protect the other buildings against fire, earthquake, noise, structure failures, and to maintain balance between built as well as the natural environment. Then we have few technical definitions also. First is the building line. So the line up to which the plinth of the building adjoining a street or the extension of the street in, or the future street, and includes the lines prescribed in the development plan that attributes to the building line of the project. Then what are the setbacks? So these are defined as the minimum distance provided at the front, rear, and the side of the building, so that it should not cause any nuisance to the nearby building that is provided to you, and it should not cause any disturbance to the public that is roaming around in the nearby streets. So another definitions come into picture, that is the ground coverage. So the ground area covered immediately above the plinth level by the building is considered as the ground coverage. However, it does not include the garden, rockery, well structures, nursery, swimming pool, platform around a tree, drainage culvert, compound wall, or you have installed sliding canopy or chhaja in any particular area, or any which are any or the staircases which are uncovered and open from at least three sides and are open to sky, so that are also not included in the ground coverage. So only that area that is above the plinth level that is acquired by the building is considered to be the ground coverage. So it is defined as the ratio of the ground floor area occupied by the building divided by the total area, or you can say it is a percentage of the total plot area. Then you will define floor area ratio. So it is defined as the ratio of the total floor area divided by the total plot area. Okay, this is how you will define the floor area ratio. Then we have seen about the construction contract management. So companies usually have some standard forms of contract condition which seeks to divide the responsibilities in three stages. One is pre-bid stage, execution stage, and the post execution stage. So there sometimes author the dispute between the two parties, which is client as well as the contractor. So how or on what basis these disputes occur? These disputes could be due to incorrect ground data that is available to you. It could be due to faulty and ambiguous provision that is provided in the contract. Then it could be due to the suspension of works, deviations, or hindrance due to other contractors that are involved in the site that may lead to the dispute between the client as well as the contractor. So to resolve them, you will have a mediation as well as a conciliation process. So what is that? It is an informal process where the parties are assisted by one or more neutral parties in their efforts towards settlements. So mediators are not judges or arbitrators to solve the dispute. Mediators are the parties who will advise them and make them to assist in bringing about a mutual acceptable solution. So, given the problem, nature of the problem or level of the problems, the mediator have the no power to impose any outcome. They can only suggest you that this measure can be implemented, but they can't impose that uh, decision over you. Like arbitrator has the power to impose the decision on you, but mediator don't have the power. They can only act as a suggestion. So for them, we have the different stages. One is pre-mediation, then direct and indirect mediation, and then the post-mediation. So, what are the benefits of these mediation? It acts as a faster, as the cheaper disposable of the dispute. It further minimizes disputes. It acts as an open channel of communication between client as well as the contractor. It preserves and enhance the relationship between the two parties, and it provides a more satisfactory outcomes to the dispute without undergoing any arbitration process. However, in some cases, you must have to go to arbitrator when the resolution is not satisfactory by the mediator. Then how arbitrator is selected, then we will see. So selection of the arbitrator depends upon the following points. So first is that person should have the high integrity and partial complete impartiality. So that person should believe in applying principle of nature justice and practical approach. It should have some technical knowledge in the domain in which the case is authored, and he should be able to understand the legal procedure and able to understand implication of any failure or inability of either party to comply with the proper requirements relating to the evidence. So now what are the duties of the arbitrator? So he has to understand the issues under disputes either through a meeting or through sending a notice to the parties and ask them to submit statements or submissions by both the parties, and then he will necessarily disclose to the parties about his knowledge about of the case and how he is dealing with the force. But he should not receive any evidence in the absence of the party. He should not examine a witness in the absence of any parties. He should not make any private inquiries, not delegate any authority to other individual, and not exceed the scope of reference that is provided to him. Okay, so then conduct of hearing occurs in which the claimant makes an opening statement. Then the claimant calls and examines his witness, which may be cross-questioned by the respondent. Then, if the witness is cross-examined, then claimant again can re-examine him to raise the matter of cross-examination, and same happens in the case of respondent also. Okay, so what are the advantages of the arbitration? Eh, First is this decision is imposed. Second is it is a quicker and the cheapest, or the cheaper, not I can say cheapest, it is a cheaper settlement mode. It is best suited during for the technical disputes, because if you do go to the civil judge, their civil judge requires evidence and they are not having technical knowledge to give you proper good advice regarding the same. So expert and legal technical advice can be obtained by the arbitrator. No interim relief can be granted. No publicity is involved, and the time of the placement of the hearing can be fixed on the mutual convenience. Then we have seen different types of contract. One is EPC or the turnkey contract, lump sum contract, measurement contract. Measurement contract, we have seen item rate contract, percentage rate contract, rate only contract, and the cost plus contract. Anyone having any doubt? Okay, let's continue. So in turnkey contract, a turnkey contractor is responsible for everything. So what do you mean by turnkey contract? That he is responsible for uh, doing everything that is responsible to carry out that particular project, and in the end he is giving the key to the client to open the gate and then see his property. So that is what turnkey contract means. That is, key is given to you him to open the open his property after the work is completed. Or you can say it as a EPC contract, that is engineering, procurement, and construction contract. So here the contractor will provide the works ready at a fixed date and at a fixed rate. So these here the owner still provides the functional requirements and approves the design as well as the drawings. Then what about lump sum contract? It is a type of contract in which the single amount is paid for all the works to be performed. This contract is usually used in construction industry to reduce the design as well as the contract administration cost. However, this is used only in small cases because lump sum cost will have other implications also related to the specification and the quality of work to be performed in the site. Okay, so this contract is simple to administer and most suited for simple as well as the small project where the project is already well defined and the changes are unlikely. Now, what are measurable contracts? So, measurement contracts can be defined in situations where design can be described in reasonable detail and but the amount cannot. That means your design and the technical things or technical requirements in the project involved is very detailed, and large hefty amount is required to be spent in the design as well as the determination of the specification required to perform that particular work. So in that case, measurement contract comes into picture, wherein every small quantity will have a large implication on the total estimated cost of the project. So the measurement contract can allow an early start date on site before design is complete, and they can allow changes to be made to the works relatively easy. So what is item rate contract? So item rate contract is also known as unit price contract. Here the contractor undertakes the execution of the work on an item rate basis. So the contractor is required to quote the rate for an individual item of work on the basis of the schedule of quantities. So that means quantities available to you for the different items to be carrying out in the site, and then he has to quote the rate for each item, and then total cost is estimated, and then L1 contractor or the lowest contractor will be chosen for the carrying out that particular work. Then what about percentage rate contract? Herein the contractor will provide one percentage for the carrying out the particular work, and the payment is to be released based upon the percentage rate he has quoted for that particular work. And this percentage will be considered for each and every item that is involved in the construction. Okay, now rate only contracts are those wherein the contractor call for tenders to quote only their rates per unit of the work for different kinds. Okay, these are the work whose quantity cannot be defined in advance, such as site investigation, grouting work, or the sinking of holes. So that means they are very miscellaneous kind of contracts wherein rate only contract is used. Now comes cost plus contract. It is also known as cost reimbursement contract, where a contractor is paid for all the allowed expenses plus the additional payment is provided to allow for a profit. So cost reimbursement contracts contrast with the fixed price contract in which the contractor is paid a negotiated amount regardless of the incurred expenses. Then we have seen FIDIC contract also as well as the PPP contract. So what is FIDIC contract? So FIDIC is the International Federation of the Consulting Engineers. So FIDIC is the form of the contract which is evolved over a period. So before 1999, FIDIC has three forms of building and the engineering contract. One is red book for civil engineering construction, yellow book for electrical and mechanical work, and orange book for design and build contracts. So what are the principles for the FIDIC contract? So it has to achieve optimum results by not expecting contractors to quote only risk that could not be reasonably unforeseen or evaluated. So close cooperation and the teamwork between employer and the contractor and engineer within the framework of the contract with the mutual desire to produce a satisfactory result. So the use of the independent engineer who is required to exercise his power in discretion with impartiality, even if he is the employer of the employer, is contained in the FIDI contract. Now comes the public-private partnerships. So these are the contracts which are nowadays used by many companies, including NHAI, for carrying out any particular work related to the road construction work. So a partnership between the public and the private sectors with clear agreement on the shared objective for the delivery of the public infrastructure, especially in transportation as well as in the power sector. So it is an arrangement between the major stakeholders in an infrastructure project, which includes government, statutory bodies, public entities on one side, and the private parties, including the financial institution on the other, to provide the public assets with the investments being made or the management being carried out by the private entity for a specified amount of time under the supervision of the government. That means whole work is required to be done by the contractor, and he himself has to recover his amount for the for which he has spent in carrying out that particular work. And then after a certain period of time, he will hand over the whole project to the government, and then this contract is over. Okay, so for this you have different model. One is build, operate, and transfer. Another is build, operate, own, and transfer. Third is build, own, and operate. Then design, build, finance, operate, and transfer. And then build, operate, own, share, and then transfer. So generally, what is used nowadays is BOT or BOOT. Okay, so what is BOT? BOT is a form of leasing where the government allows a private and entrepreneur to design, finance, and build any infrastructure facility. Okay, the project promoter is permitted to collect tolls and operate the facility for a specified period during which he is expected to recover the cost and earn reasonable profit. Then ownership is transferred to the government after the end of this period. Now, if you want to see that how this tender is awarded, so for this, the tender is awarded to the contractor based upon the service years he has mentioned in carrying out that particular work. So the one who has mentioned the lowest number of years for the service will be awarded this contract. So we have another contract also, that is design, build, and operate. So a design and the construction contract linked to operation and the maintenance contract. So the service provider is responsible for financing the project during the construction, and the government purchases the asset from the developer for a pre-agreed price prior to commissioning and takes all ownership risk from that time. Okay, then we have another also, that is BOOT. Then we have seen definition related to earnest money, retention money, and security deposit. So retention money is the amount which is withheld for some time after the agreement has been fulfilled. Its purpose is to ensure that the amount on contract has been fully performed by the service provider or the supplier. Whereas the security amount is the amount which is given by the depositor, such that he does not complete the task as per the work order. The owner or the client can recover the loss by forfeiting or use the part of the security deposit. Similarly, also we have seen secured advance. So secured advance is an advance payment made to the contractor on the basis of security of the materials brought by the contractor to the site under construction. Okay, then maintenance and defect liability period. Then, yeah, anyone have any doubt?
Yes, sir. Regarding the secure advance, suppose a contractor brings some reinforcement at site. On third-party inspection, the material was found not fit for construction. So
Mm-hmm.
what will happen to the secured advance amount?
Yeah, so secured advance is given to the contractor only. So secured advance is generally the payment which is made by the contract, no, which is made to the contractor, because client is fulfilled from his responsibilities that he has made the amount regarding the secured advance on the basis of the security of the material provided. But if the third party inspection tells you that this work or this implied specification does not specify to the work that is required to be completed, then he, the contractor has to bear the loss, and then he has to make the arrangements to bring the new reinforcement at that site. So at his own cost.
So it is applicable for the material which is like this one
Only for
also.
the secured materials, na? Those which you require large materials to be secured, like you have sand. Oh, sorry, it's not sand. Cement is there, reinforcement is there, for which bulk requirements is there. So for this only security advance is provided, or you can say equipments also.
Okay. So like base price items also it will be included, na?
Uh, can you repeat?
For base price items like supplied by the client, reinforcement is supplied by the client, the payment is
Uh,
done by the client. So the security advance is applicable for that one also, na?
yeah. If the reinforcement is supplied by the client, then also secured advance will be paid. But if it is supplied by the contractor, then in third, like you already said, in third party inspection, if it is not fit for it, then it is responsibility of the contractor only to bring back the new reinforcement and then bear all the losses.
Noted.
So, any other
And
doubt?
yeah, that's it. And
Okay,
defect liability also, I had one doubt actually. This
correct.
DLP, suppose a particular project has a DLP of 1 year. Suppose a
Mhm.
chiller is there at the like at the project. So the contractor failed to like do the replacement or the repairing during the DLP. So DLP it has to be extended, or what will be the procedure to do that particular rectification?
No, DLP at that time will be extended, because it is the responsible if the work if the maintenance work that is to be done in the site, if it not supposedly done by the contractor within the required amount of time, then DLP will be extended, and the concerned penalty will be imposed on the contractor, so that he has not done the work at the appropriate time that is provided to him. Am I clear?
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
So now if we talk about the penalty, yeah, kindly mute. Anyone, other person is also having some query. Yeah, Mr. Chandrappa, do you have any query? Okay, let's continue. So penalty and liquidated damages is also there. So liquidated damages are the ones in which the sum is the genuine pre-estimate of the loss, and in which that is required to be paid by the contractor. Whereas penalty is the one in which there is no proper calculation of the total estimated loss by the contractor for that particular work, and then the client imposes a certain amount of money to be paid. That becomes the penalty. So there is difference between the liquidated damages and penalty. When the losses are measurable, we term it to be liquidated damages, and when they are unmeasurable, it becomes penalty. Then quantum merit we also define as the amount to be paid for the services when the no contract exists. In other words, it refers to the reasonable sum of money to be paid for the services or the work done when the amount due is stipulated in the legal enforceable contract. Then we have one definition regarding assets. It is the item of value owned by a company either as a cash or otherwise, which is convertible to money. So these assets could be either fixed assets or the current assets, and we can define it as the tangible or the intangible assets. Tangible assets include land, plant, machinery, buildings, etc. Whereas intangible includes patents, goodwill of the company, and the copyrights available with the company. And the current assets includes the cash balance, cash, bank balance, stocks, and debitors, which is available with the company. Now talking about liabilities, liabilities includes the items that is owned by the companies to others, which may be by owned by owners, shareholders, or by the financial institutions. So a liability could be the long-term liability and the current liabilities. So the long-term liability includes bond, loans, or the mortgages, and the current liabilities includes the short-term account to be payable, taxes, and the accrued expenses. So, concluding all of these, we can say that, or in previous lecture also we have said this, that if a builder constructed a house but did not make his work strong, with the result that the house which has built collapsed and so caused the death of the owner of the house, then the builder should be put to the death. So this is a very harsh statement, but it should be true. That on because then only the contractor who are working at the site should imply to the specifications involved, because nowadays contractors try to make a lot of money from the construction project because no one is able to imply that how much quality of work is to be done, because quality of the work could be determined up to a certain extent, but with latest advancement in research technology, we might able to determine how much good amount of quality work is done at the site. But now currently if we see the situation, that is very, we can say, ignorant from the contractor perspective, wherein he try to make profit from the all the activities that are to be performed in the site, but it is not applicable to all. We all have some good contractors available as well as bad contractors. So this is only for the bad ones, or you can say those who are negligent about the work that is to be done at the site, and putting the risk of all the manhood or the livelihood living in different parts of India or world, and risking their lives and the mankind. So some ethics should be required to be followed. So engineers should uphold and advance the integrity and honor of dignity of the profession by using their knowledge, by being honest and impartial, by striving to increase the competence and supporting the professional and the technical societies of their disciplines. However, they should follow some fundamental canons, which includes that they should hold paramount regarding the safety and the welfare of the public in performance of the personal or professional duties that is required to be done. Engineers should perform services in areas of their competence. They should issue public statements in an objective and a truthful manner. They should act in professional matters for any each employer or the client as faithful agents or the trustees, and shall avoid any conflict of interest. Okay. So by this, we end our discussion regarding the principle of construction management course. Anyone have any doubt?
No doubt regarding the lecture actually, but regarding the exam, I'm asking. So, what will be the pattern, sir? It will be MCQ only, na?
Yeah, based upon my knowledge, it should be MCQ only because it is a computer-based test. So that will be MCQ.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I think your test will be on coming Sunday. I don't know.
No,
No, sir.
Saturday.
Tuesday and Saturday.
Okay, okay, fine. So all the best for the exam.
So,
Yeah.
what is
Do
the total marks of the question?
actually I don't know. I don't have any knowledge about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, I was trying to get some like question papers from you, but better.
No. That's not up to us, and not we don't have any knowledge regarding that. But you have done well. If you have seen all the lectures, you will able to perform all the questions well. And it's only up to the marks. You have to pass the exam and get the required certifications from the for the course. and I think you will do well. You all are good in all the technicalities of the word that is involved. So anyone having any doubt?
Sir, will you please add this PPT in that link?
Yeah, sure. I will add this PPT, and if you want, yeah, I will share in that link. I don't know whether they will announce it before the exam, but if you want, you will open your NPTEL app, and there you will go to problem solving session, and the link is visible there. Okay, then you can access from that link. I will share within, I think, half an hour. You will be able to get this PPT.
Sir,
Okay, okay.
the
Thank you, sir.
problem solving sessions are not available in that application, sir. We have tried. Just we have
Yeah,
uploaded only one problem solving. That's it.
no, in which if you click the problem solving session, one
Yes.
Excel sheet will come.
Yes.
In Excel sheet, there is one folder. In that folder, all the slides are available to you, and the links for video slides is also given to you in the separate column.
Okay. Thank you,
Okay.
sir. Thank you.
Okay. So if no one
So
has any
previous
doubt,
year papers is there in the portal, sir? Previous year papers.
no. There is no availability of the previous year papers.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
One, hello.
Yeah. Tell me.
So I have missed, I think, two, three assignments. So
Your
I am
voice is very
eligible
low.
to take answers. Yes.
The voice is very low. Can you repeat?
Yeah, I have missed two, three assignments because of that. So I don't know dates and all those things. Can I get it now? These assignments not possible.
Sir, your voice is not audible to me.
Sir, what the sir is speaking is he has left three assignments. Is it any possibility of doing that thing?
Three assignments are
Sir,
left. Main solutions for that.
sir,
No, no. So I don't want solution.
Yeah.
I have not filled those assignments at
sir, out of 8 assignments, one assignment was missed.
Okay. So composite score will be calculated, and based upon that only marks will be provided to you. You don't worry about it.
Okay, okay, sir.
Total
Right.
20.
only four assignments is required to score. Na?
Yeah, that's up to NPTEL part. I don't have any knowledge. I because I don't deal with that.
Sir, actually, a best of six will be taken, and the average will be taken as the final score out of 25.
Okay, okay,
From that, they are considering 25%.
okay. So that's good. Now you, if out of 8 you will get good scores in 6, then you will be able to get
Yes.
good marks in from 25.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the sessions are more informative, sir. Thank you for your kind response.
And
Okay.
thank you for your guidance, sir. You are very good at your teaching.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you, everyone. I think now it's very late. We should end
Yes,
this
sir.
session.
Thank you,
So,
sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Staying
See you,
staying
sir.
at the office till now.
so all the best for the exam. Do well.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir.